You're going to walk the day, or at least, let's put it this way, anywhere I will walk the day, and many hundreds of thousands of Jews, there will be one word on their lips. Today is Gimel Tammuz. Gimel Tammuz, Gimel Tammuz. It actually became like a word, Gimel Tammuz. Now, what is this? Honestly, it could be a confusing concept. But before that, before we try to understand a little bit, to get a little glimpse, let us say the Rebbe's Kapitel today. Chapter 124. Shir Amalos LeDavid, Lule Adonai Shoy Olonu B'kum Aleinu Odom. Azai Chaim B'lo Una B'charois Apom Bono Azai Maim Shtofu L'Nachlo Over Lavshenu. Azai Over Lavshenu Maim Azidoni Baruch Adonai Sholenu Sanonu Teref L'Shenim. Lavshenu Kitzipo Nimlu Tom Pachyo Kshma Pachnish Bo V'Nachlo Nimlotnu. Ezreinu B'Shem Adonai Oisei Shomayim V'Oretz. Let us give some tzedakah with the prayers for all of Klal Yisrael. Such a special day. No question about it that the prayers will be fulfilled by Hashem. The prayers for safety, security. One word. Geula. Geula, Gimel. Starts with the same letter. So, my friends, what am I talking about? So, as I mentioned, sure you know, Gimel Tammuz, the third day of the month of Tammuz, where in 1994, the Rebbe suddenly made himself invisible. And since then, we know he's here. We feel he's here. We get his answers. We get his guidance. His presence, his leadership is becoming more and more and more known to the entire world. Just by the simple fact that when you go to the Ohel in Queens and you see the hundreds of thousands of people who come to visit the Rebbe there, Jews and many, many a non-Jew, people who run for elections or presidents or anybody. So his presence is becoming more and more real. But the question becomes, how do we relate to that? There seems to be a contradiction. He promised us 1991, 1992, that we are at the threshold of Moshiach. We are at the threshold of Geula. And suddenly, he, who is supposed to take us out of exile, he, who is considered Mashiach, suddenly disappears on us, so to say, goes into concealment, goes into hiding. So what are we to make of this? So we only have the Rebbe's words to understand this a little bit. In the time of the previous Rebbe, when the previous Rebbe was in prison, on the third day of Tammuz, his death sentence was commuted, and he was then sent to exile. It was 9 days later that actually was freed even from exile. So Gimel Tammuz, says the Rebbe, was really the beginning of the release from prison, the redemption of the previous Rebbe, but it was concealed. At that time, it was a great miracle, commuting his death sentence, but he was still going to exile, and who knows what could happen in exile. So there was happiness and trepidation at the same time about the safety and the security about the previous Rebbe. 9 days later, we saw how great a miracle it was that really this was the beginning of the Geula, as the Rebbe says, but behelen, concealment. There's no question about it. That the Rebbe's promise, and what the Rebbe stated clearly as a prophecy, that we are living the moments of redemption. Everything which is happening today in the world, all this is part of the process of redemption. It's not just a sign for redemption, it's actually the process. And obviously what we've been experiencing the last 2 years, and especially the last 2 weeks, the miraculous revelation of godliness in the world, where the whole world is speaking about miracles of God, Jews and Gentiles alike, lahavdil, recognize the presence of God, God's involvement in everything which is happening. That's part of the process of the revelation of Mashiach. So it is happening. But there's still some concealment. So on this day, today, the third day of Tammuz, and everything is by divine providence. Gimel 3. Geula, redemption, starts with the letter 3. We are anticipating and expecting the third Bet HaMikdash. Gimel again. Gimel is all about unity. Indeed. The Rebbe unifies the whole world. And we should unify around his call, which is what? To welcome him. To do our part in welcoming Mashiach. And that means what? Starting to live a lifestyle commensurate with the ideal and the reality of Mashiach. So let's hope we see him.